Ladies and gentlemen, what if the very thing that has been haunting your mind is not here to destroy you, but to awaken you? What if the anxiety that wakes you up at night, the restlessness that follows you in silence, the emptiness you cannot explain, the pressure to become someone you were never meant to fake being, is not a sign that you are broken, but a sign that your soul is demanding your attention? What if today is not an ordinary day, but the day your life begins to speak back to you? What if this is the moment you finally hear the message that has been trying to reach you through every disappointment, every loss, every secret fear, and every quiet moment when you felt alone with your own thoughts? Listen carefully, because this is not just another motivational speech. This is a reminder, a call back to yourself, a call into the deepest chamber of your own being, a call to face what you have hidden, to reclaim what you have abandoned, and to become whole again. Carl Jung understood something that many people spend their entire lives trying to avoid. He understood that the human being is not merely a collection of habits, achievements, roles, and opinions. He understood that beneath the mask, beneath the performance, beneath the image we build for others, there lives a deeper self, a self that remembers who you were before fear taught you how to shrink, a self that knows your true name even when the world has called you by every other label, a self that is waiting patiently and powerfully for you to turn inward and listen. Most people spend their days trying to escape themselves. They distract themselves with noise, with endless scrolling, with work, with gossip, with comparison, with the hunger to be seen, loved, praised, and accepted. They run from silence because silence begins to reveal what the noise was covering. They avoid solitude because solitude forces a conversation with the self they have neglected. They hide behind ambition, image, and busyness, because these things can make a person look alive even while their inner world is starving. But eventually, life interrupts the performance. Eventually, the soul becomes too loud to ignore. Eventually, the truth arrives. And when the truth arrives, it does not always come gently. Sometimes it comes as loss, sometimes as heartbreak, sometimes as exhaustion, sometimes as failure, sometimes as a deep feeling that everything you thought would satisfy you has left you strangely empty. Sometimes it comes through the collapse of an identity you were never meant to carry. Sometimes it comes when you have achieved what you chased, only to discover that success without meaning is a beautifully decorated prison. That is why so many people feel lost, even while appearing successful. They have built a life that can be admired from the outside, but it has not yet been aligned with the truth of the inside. They have learned how to impress, but not how to be. They have learned how to perform, but not how to live. They know how to answer the world, but not how to answer themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, the message you were meant to hear today is that your life cannot become whole until you become honest. Honest about what you feel, honest about what hurts, honest about what you desire, honest about what you fear, honest about the version of yourself you have hidden away because you thought it was too much, too sensitive, too broken, too complicated, too ambitious, too uncertain, too emotional, too different, too unusual, too imperfect. But Jung would remind us that what is rejected does not disappear. What you refuse to face does not vanish. It waits in the darkness. It gathers force. It influences your choices from behind the curtain. It shapes your reactions, your relationships, your triggers, your fears, your addictions, your attachments, and your self-image. That is why many people find themselves repeating the same pain in different forms. The same wound shows up in different clothes. The same fear returns in different circumstances. The same lesson keeps knocking because it has not yet been learned. You may call it bad luck, you may call it coincidence, you may call it toxic people, you may call it a difficult season, but sometimes the pattern is not outside you. Sometimes the pattern is inside you, and that is not a reason for shame. It is an invitation to growth. There is enormous freedom in this truth, because once you understand that your inner world matters, you stop waiting for the outer world to rescue you. You stop placing all your hope in people who cannot heal what only awareness can heal. You stop believing that the next relationship, the next job, the next city, the next promotion, the next conversation, the next validation, or the next distraction will finally make you feel complete. you begin to realize that completion is not something handed to you. It is something you build through courage, reflection, discipline, and truth. There are parts of you that you have been taught to reject. The angry part, the grieving part, the insecure part, the frightened part, the part that wants to be loved, the part that wants to be safe, the part that wants to create something great, the part that feels weak, the part that feels too much, the part that feels not enough, the part that still carries childhood wounds, the part that still wants approval, the part that does not know how to forgive, the part that feels jealous when others succeed, the part that is ashamed of its own pain. Many people spend years trying to destroy these parts when in reality they are asking to be integrated. There is a difference between being ruled by your shadow and understanding your shadow. The first makes you reactive. The second makes you wise. The first keeps you unconscious. The second makes you powerful. The first causes you to project your pain onto others. The second teaches you to take responsibility for the world you carry within. Think about how often people are upset by qualities in others that they have not yet faced in themselves. They condemn arrogance while secretly craving recognition. They judge weakness while hiding their own fear. They criticize selfishness while being unable to set boundaries. They resent confidence because they have not yet learned to trust their own voice. They attack in others the very wounds they have not healed within. This is one of the great discoveries of psychology and one of the great tests of character. What irritates you in the world often reveals what still needs attention in your own soul. That is not a sentence of condemnation, it is a doorway to freedom. Because the moment you stop saying, "Why is the world like this?" and begin asking, "What is this revealing in me?" your life changes. The moment you stop only blaming and begin examining, the moment you stop only reacting and begin reflecting, the moment you stop only defending your image and begin facing your truth, you step onto the path of transformation. And transformation is not glamorous. It is not always loud. It is not always instantly rewarding. It is often private. It is often uncomfortable. It often begins in tears, in journaling, in silence, in prayer, in therapy, in long walks, in honest conversations, in the decision to stop lying to yourself. Transformation begins when you have the courage to say, "I am tired of being ruled by what I have not healed." It begins when you decide that your pain deserves understanding, not suppression. It begins when you no longer wish to simply survive your life, but to awaken into it. There are people listening to this right now who have spent years wearing a mask that has become heavy. A mask of strength when they are actually tired. A mask of confidence when they are actually afraid. A mask of humor when they are actually hurting. A mask of success when they are actually disconnected. A mask of calm when there is chaos inside. A mask of indifference when their heart is longing for something more. A mask of control when deep down they are terrified of losing grip. The world often rewards masks. The world applauds appearances. The world sees the polished surface and rarely asks what it costs to produce it. But your soul does not care about applause. Your soul cares about truth. Your soul is not impressed by your image if your inner life is collapsing. Your soul does not want you to become admired at the cost of becoming unreal. Jung spoke about the persona, the social mask, the identity we wear to function in society. And yes, we all need a persona. We all need a way to communicate, to work, to participate, to belong. But the danger begins when the mask becomes the master. The danger begins when you forget that the role is not the whole self. The danger begins when you start believing that the version of you that others clap for is the only version that deserves to exist. No, you are more than your role. You are more than your public image. You are more than your accomplishments. You are more than your mistakes. You are more than your reputation. You are more than your fear. You are more than the story other people tell about you. And most importantly, you are more than the story you tell about yourself when you are feeling small. There is a deeper self inside you that is waiting to be known. It does not always speak in words. Sometimes it speaks through discomfort. Sometimes through attraction. Sometimes through dreams. Sometimes through patterns. sometimes through the unshakable feeling that you are meant for more than the life of numb repetition, sometimes through a strange restlessness that will not let you settle for a life that is too small for your spirit. Many people mistake that restlessness for a problem. They think something is wrong with them because they cannot fully fit into a life that is built on the expectations of others. But what if that restlessness is not a flaw? What if it is a signal? What if it is your deeper self refusing to die quietly? What if it is the soul saying, "There is more for you than imitation, more for you than conformity, more for you than survival, more for you than borrowed meaning"? Ladies and gentlemen, the life you have been given is not meant to be a replica of someone else's dream. It is meant to become the expression of your unique becoming. And that becoming begins not by asking the crowd what you should be, but by asking the silence who you really are. This is the hard truth many avoid. The self you present to the world may be accepted, but the self you have abandoned is still waiting for you. The child inside you who needed safety, the young dreamer who needed encouragement, the wounded heart that needed compassion, the creative spirit that needed freedom, the courageous voice that needed permission. They are all still there, and they do not vanish simply because you became busy, successful, guarded, or practical. There comes a moment in every life when the burden of pretending becomes heavier than the fear of being real. That moment is sacred. It is the beginning of healing. It is the beginning of individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, not who the world pressures you to become. It is a slow and sacred journey, and it requires more bravery than most people imagine. Because to become yourself, you must be willing to disappoint some expectations. You must be willing to outgrow some circles. You must be willing to release some identities. You must be willing to let go of what once made you feel safe but now keeps you small. Growth always demands a death before a rebirth. The old self must loosen its grip. The outdated beliefs must be challenged. The inherited fears must be questioned. The roles that no longer fit must be removed. And yes, this can feel like loss, because any time you grow, you leave something behind. Any time you become more honest, some illusions must collapse. Any time you walk toward truth, some comforts will no longer survive the journey. But what is the alternative? To remain comfortable and unfulfilled? To remain admired and empty? To remain accepted and disconnected from yourself? To remain safe and spiritually asleep? No, that is too high a price. The human psyche is not satisfied by surface living forever. It wants meaning. It wants depth. It wants symbols, purpose, and inward coherence. It wants the pieces of your life to make sense together. It wants your actions to align with your values. It wants your outer life to reflect your inner truth. It wants you to stop betraying yourself in the name of belonging. So hear this clearly. The pain you feel may not be punishment. It may be instruction. The discomfort may not be the end of your path. It may be the beginning. The emptiness may not mean your life is hopeless. It may mean your old life no longer fits. The confusion may not mean you are lost. It may mean you are being invited to discover a deeper direction. A person who never questions themselves may seem stable, but they are often standing still. A person who begins to question themselves may feel unstable for a season, but they are often on the way to wisdom. Do not be afraid of the questions. Do not be afraid when life starts asking you who you really are, what you really want, what you really believe, what you really value, and what you are no longer willing to sacrifice. Because life will ask, it always does. It may ask through pain, it may ask through silence, it may ask through disappointment, it may ask through desire, it may ask through opportunity, it may ask through the sudden realization that everything you chased did not satisfy the hunger you thought it would. And when life asks, the most important thing you can do is answer honestly. A false answer can keep you comfortable, but it cannot keep you whole. What does it mean to become whole? It means that you no longer split yourself into pieces just to please the world. It means you can acknowledge your strength without denying your vulnerability. It means you can admit your wounds without becoming your wounds. It means you can accept your darkness without worshipping it. It means you can value your light without becoming arrogant. It means you can hold paradox. You can be both strong and sensitive, both ambitious and humble, both wounded and wise, both imperfect and worthy, both in progress and already enough in the ways that matter most. That is a mature soul, not a perfect one, a mature one. A mature soul no longer needs to pretend it has no shadow. It learns to carry the shadow with awareness. It learns to say, yes, I am capable of anger, but I will not be ruled by it. Yes, I am capable of fear, but I will not obey it blindly. Yes, I have pain, but I will not use it as an excuse to harm others. Yes, I have desires, but I will not let them control my humanity. Yes, I am unfinished, but I am committed to becoming whole. This is the path of true power, not domination, not control, not image, not superiority. Power through awareness, power through discipline, power through integration, power through the willingness to see yourself clearly and to continue loving the truth even when it is uncomfortable. Many people ask for peace, but what they really want is avoidance. They want peace without confrontation, peace without self-examination, peace without accountability, peace without change. But real peace does not come from running away from your inner life. Real peace comes from meeting it. Real peace comes when what is inside you is no longer divided against itself. Real peace comes when your thoughts, emotions, values, and actions begin to move in the same direction. That is why inner work is not a luxury. It is not reserved for people with free time. It is not self-indulgence. It is not weakness. It is the foundation of a meaningful life. The more clearly you know yourself, the less easily you will be manipulated by fear, by trends, by approval, by shame, and by the expectations of others. The more clearly you know yourself, the less likely you will be to mistake noise for truth. And make no mistake, the world is full of noise. Noise that tells you to compare yourself, noise that tells you to hurry, noise that tells you your worth is tied to your productivity, noise that tells you you are behind, noise that tells you everyone else has figured it out, noise that tells you you are not enough unless you are constantly becoming something more visible, more admired, more successful, more desired. But the soul does not measure life that way. The soul asks different questions. Did you become more honest? Did you become more compassionate? Did you become more aware? Did you stop running from yourself? Did you learn to see pain as a teacher rather than a curse? Did you choose meaning over imitation? Did you become more whole? Did you come closer to the truth of who you are? These are the questions that matter. And perhaps the most liberating truth of all is this: you do not need to become someone else to be worthy of your own life. You do not need to earn your right to exist by becoming flawless. You do not need to silence every insecurity before you begin. You do not need to have a perfect past before you can create a meaningful future. You do not need to be free of fear before you take the next step. You only need enough honesty to begin. Begin where you are. Begin with the truth you have. Begin with the pain you feel. Begin with the dream that still lives in your chest. Begin with the forgiveness you have delayed. Begin with the discipline you have avoided. Begin with the conversation you have been postponing. Begin with the journal you have not written in. Begin with the silence you have been avoiding. Begin with the decision that from this day forward, you will no longer abandon yourself just to be loved by a world that cannot know your depth unless you first know it yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a part of you that has not been defeated. There is a part of you that still believes. There is a part of you that still wants to create, to love, to build, to heal, to serve, to rise, to become. That part may be buried under disappointment, but it is not dead. It may be hidden under fear, but it is not gone. It may be exhausted, but it still breathes. And the message you were meant to hear today is that your life is not over just because your old way of living no longer works. In fact, that may be the best news you have heard in a long time. Because when the old way no longer works, you are being invited into a new way. When the old identity begins to crack, you are being invited into truth. When the old story feels too small, you are being invited into a greater one. When the pain becomes impossible to ignore, you are being invited to finally listen. And when you listen deeply enough, you may discover that what you called a breakdown was actually the beginning of a breakthrough. Do not underestimate the power of inner change. A single honest moment can alter the direction of a life. A single decision to stop lying to yourself can open a door that years of external effort could not unlock. A single act of courage can begin the healing of a wound that has been shaping your choices for decades. A single quiet yes to truth can become the foundation of a new destiny. You are not here merely to survive your history. You are here to transform it. You are not here merely to carry your wounds. You are here to understand them, integrate them, and grow beyond them. You are not here merely to impress the world. You are here to become a whole human being, a conscious human being, a meaningful human being, a human being who has looked into the darkness and refused to be ruled by it. This is why the journey inward is so important, because what you do not understand in yourself, you will repeat. What you do not face in yourself, you will project. What you do not heal in yourself, you will hand to others. But what you face with courage, you can transform. What you understand with compassion, you can integrate. What you integrate with wisdom, you can use to build a better life. And that life begins now. Not when you are perfect. Now. Not when you have no fear. Now. Not when the world gives you permission. Now. Not when everyone understands you. Now. Not when your past disappears. Now. Not when everything is easy. Now. Now is the moment to turn inward. Now is the moment to stop abandoning your truth. Now is the moment to meet yourself honestly. Now is the moment to honor the pain that has been asking for your attention. Now is the moment to remember that your shadow is not the end of you. It is one part of a much larger whole. Now is the moment to stop living only from the surface and begin living from the center. And when you do, something remarkable happens. You begin to feel less divided, less confused, less driven by the need to prove yourself, less enslaved to opinions, less afraid of the dark, more grounded, more awake, more compassionate, more resilient, more real, more alive. That is the power of wholeness. So let this be the message you were meant to hear today. You are not here to be a perfect image. You are here to become a true human being. You are not here to silence every difficult emotion. You are here to learn from them. You are not here to reject the darker parts of yourself. You are here to understand them so they do not secretly rule your life. You are not here to live as a mask. You are here to live as a soul. And yes, the journey will challenge you. It will ask for patience. It will ask for honesty. It will ask for discipline. It will ask for humility. It will ask for courage. It will ask you to keep going when old habits pull you back. It will ask you to trust that what feels difficult now may be leading you toward a more meaningful life than you have ever known. But you can do it. You can face yourself. You can heal. You can grow. You can integrate the parts of yourself that have been scattered. You can stop running. You can stop pretending. You can stop living only for applause. You can stop mistaking survival for fulfillment. You can become whole. And in becoming whole, you will not only change your own life, you will change the way you love, the way you speak, the way you forgive, the way you work, the way you lead, the way you see others, the way you respond to pain, the way you carry your future. Your healing will ripple outward. Your awareness will bless others. Your courage will give someone else permission to begin. Your truth will become a light for those still trapped in silence. That is how transformation works. It does not stop with you. So stand tall in your humanity. Walk forward with honesty. Carry your shadow with awareness, not shame. Wear your mask only where necessary, but never let it steal your face. Listen to your dreams. Honor your wounds. Respect your limits. Trust your depth. And remember that the life you are seeking is not outside you waiting to be found. It is already pressing from within, asking to be lived. Ladies and gentlemen, the message you were meant to hear today is simple, but it will change everything if you truly receive it. You do not become yourself by escaping your darkness. You become yourself by facing it, understanding it, and rising through it. That is where strength is born. That is where wisdom is formed. That is where wholeness begins. That is where your real life starts, and it starts now.